Hello, welcome back. This is section 1.5, which is economic systems. Economic systems. We talked about economy. We talked about economy when we were looking at the concept, basic economic concepts. We mentioned economy. Said economy is a system of production, distribution, and consumption in a particular uh, country, society, individual rights. Okay. So now, what is economic system? What is the system? All right. So an economic system describes the mechanism. First word describes the mechanism by which scarce resources are allocated in society. Okay. The nature of the relationship between the individual and society, and the role of government in the allocation of resources and the direction of economic activity. This is complete definition of what economic system is. Okay, and thankfully, what is more important in this your examination is the understanding. Okay, so if you give them this, right, if you give them something that is more sophisticated than this, based on what you understand economic system to mean, you are good to go. Okay, so now let me explain it so that you can have the understanding, and when you are being asked, you can write, express yourself in any way that you can. So economic system is referring to how scarce resources is being allocated in the society. That's the first one. How scarce resources is being allocated in the society. Okay, that's number one. Number two, how individuals and society, that's the economic agents, the relationship between the economic agents. Number one is scarce resources and how it's being allocated in society. Two, the relationship between the economic agents, which is the individual, the government, and the what and the firms, in how they allocate resources, this allocation of resources, and how they direct the economic activity. So let me put it this way: economic systems is the mechanism by which economic agents, individuals, firms, and governments rationalize scarce resources in order to direct economic activity. Okay, I just thought of that, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So, is how scarce resources is being organized. Okay, is how scarce resources is being organized in the country. All right, so that's what economic systems is all about. So, what are the types of economic system? What are the types of economic system? There are three. Okay, we have the capitalist, we have the socialist, and we have the mixed economy. Okay, so let's quickly dive right into each one of them. So the first one is the capitalist economic system. So this type of economic system is also called free market, free enterprise, or laissez-faire economy. Okay, and what does this mean? It's telling us that private ownership, okay, it means that companies have ownership on what to produce without interference from the government. Private ownership on what to produce without or what to buy without interference from government. In other words, capitalist system is telling you companies, organizations, firms have control on production. Okay, because government is not interfering in the production. Okay, now what are the features of capitalist economic system? We have private ownership. That's the first one. Private ownership. Private individuals and firms own the means of production and goods in the community. Freedom of choice. Individuals as consumers are free to spend their income on those goods they consider desirable to satisfy their wants. Okay, this idea is called consumer sovereignty. So consumer sovereignty means I am free to spend my money on whatever that I want. Okay, and this consumer sovereignty influences what the producers will produce at any point, because that's where you can now ask, what are people spending money on? All right, so that's freedom of choice. We have limited role for government. It's not as if government is non-existent, but they have limited role. Okay, so the functions of the government are limited to provision of enabling environment, rules and regulations for private economic activities to thrive. All right, so that's what limited rule of God. That's their role. It's just to provide the enabling environment. So give us good road, give us electricity, and give us rules and regulations that will allow us to thrive. Then we can produce whatsoever that we want to produce based on what people are demanding for. Okay, so that's limited rule of government. Limited rule of government. Now we have competition. Competition is talking about individuals freely compete for goods and resources. So therefore, in the pure capitalist economy, the fundamental questions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce are resolved by price. By price mechanism. Okay, by price mechanism. And price mechanism is talking about the interplay of the forces of demand and supply. So what are people demanding for? So let's run to go and produce it. What are people demanding for? What are the things that has high prices? Let's go and produce it. Are you getting my point? So those are the features of what? Of pure capitalism, capitalist system. Advantages: optimal resources of optimal allocation of resources. That is, producers engage their resources only on those goods which appear to yield maximum profits. Okay, because it is what people are spending on that they are producing. Greater output and higher income. There is increase in production and productivity, leading to increase in income, savings, and investments. All right, so we have increase in efficiency, we have progress and prosperity. Now, what are the disadvantages of this pure capitalist economy? One of them is monopoly. Okay, cultural competition may force small firms who could not cope to shut down, while the big firms may merge and monopolize the market and charge exorbitant prices. So that's one of the disadvantages. Okay, that's one of the disadvantages. Emergence of monopoly. Let's say when you have few, just in the case of cement production in Nigeria, we don't really have much cement producers in Nigeria because of the investment capital. Okay, so you have fewer competitors coming together to monopolize the market. Okay, though they won't tell you they are monopolizing the market, but you can say, okay, these guys are actually monopolizing the market. And that's what they were talking about for Dangote refinery. Okay, so that Dangote will not monopolize, will not use the refinery to monopolize the system. Okay, because if you see that great man is a very good business person. So don't let me divert so much. So that's what emergence of monopoly means. Now, inequality problem is worsened. The The rich who owns resources and control production are favored, while the poor becomes more impoverished. Okay, inequality problem is worsened. Okay, because apart from even the rich who owns resources and control production are favored, let's say many people are demanding a particular goods that favors the rich. Producers will tend to produce more of those goods while leaving important goods that ought to be produced for the survival of other people. Okay. Now, in Lagos, this is a recent research that I did. In Lagos right now, rent is causing a lot of issue. Okay, and people have no choice than to stay in houses that are not up to standard. Okay, because people that are building now, the real estate guys now, what they are building are sophisticated buildings that people who have money are demanding. Are you getting my point? So why should I build? I'm using the same cost of cement, I'm using the same cost of iron, I'm using the same cost of all the materials, labor, everything that you can think of. I'm using the same cost. Why should I produce what people that who don't really have much are going to pay, rather than producing what people who have much are going to pay? So what do I mean? Let's say in buildings now you are thinking of having POP, you are thinking of having chandeliers, and they charge you exorbitant money, in which some people are paying for it. Okay, people are paying for it. Now, as a producer, someone in real estate, you tend to produce more of those kind of buildings because you want to have more money. All right, think of it now. You spend, let's say, 100 million to construct a building, and your annual rent is let's say 10 million naira or 15 million naira annual rent. Now that means within 6-7 years, you're supposed to get return on investment. Okay, your ROI is supposed to increase compared to you spending the same cost of money to produce ordinary room plus room, ordinary rooms, single rooms, and people are going to pay, let's say, 100k to 200k highest. If you calculate all the cost of the rooms, the cost of rent, all the rents together, let's say you're having 1.5 or 2 million naira. As a producer, which one will you produce more? Definitely you produce the one that will give you higher rent. So, and by so doing, people that don't really have income to that extent have to, they have to go and sleep under the bridge, and it's an emergent issue that the government needs to quickly settle itself. Now, let's go to the next one. Inefficient production. Most resources are allocated to the production of frivolous goods that are desired by the rich who have the means, while the basic. This is what I just explained. I never knew we have this. So this is another problem. I think I've explained it. We have economic depression and unemployment. Okay, excessive competition and unplanned production leads to excess supply, low price level, and cut in numbers of workers unemployed. Workers employed. What is this talking about? This is talking about when you have higher supply, there are a lot of producers. You have a lot of producers, a lot of goods that is being produced, and you have fewer consumers demand. Definitely, people will want to reduce the price so that they can bring in more consumers. Okay, people that will demand for the goods. In so doing, they will want to find a way to cut costs, and one of the ways employers cut costs is to reduce the workforce, the labor force, because they don't want to reduce the the material costs, because when you reduce your material costs, definitely there's going to be a reduction in your quality, and reduction in quality, people will not buy. So the first thing they do is to reduce cost. So we have 10 people doing this, how can we make 5 people do the same thing? So they send people off, and that leads to economic depression and unemployment. So that's that on the capitalist economy. The socialist economic system, it is also otherwise referred to as command or centrally planned economy. Okay, what are the features of this economy? What does this economy system actually mean? It's saying that the government controls, it is government controlled. Government controlled. Okay, it is government controlled. So that's what the socialist economy system means. It is government control. Government controls the resources of production, controls what you guys can demand and all of that. And we have that in North Korea. Okay, we have North Korea is the best example for socialist economic system. All right, if you don't know why, you can go and Google North Korea and see how they allocate their production, their distribution, and their consumption. Okay, so what are the features of socialist economic system? We have public ownership. Public ownership, means of production are owned entirely by the central government, government controlled. You have public allocation and distribution. Price of goods and services are fixed by the agencies of government. In other words, the fundamental economic questions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce are solved by the government. Okay, now government coming in like this, make sure that the goods that is being produced is goods that benefit everybody. Okay, goods that benefit everybody. All right, so now what are the advantages of this economic system? We have greater economy efficiency. Okay, the government ensures that resources are allocated to those sectors where they can be used most productively. Okay, greater than under capitalist economic system. Absence of wasteful competition. Okay, there's no competition. Duplication of goods and services or use of resources are on extensive advertisement campaign is avoided. So government don't need to advertise much. This is what we have. This is what you guys. There's no competition to it. Okay, and you have less inequality income. Less inequality income. You have absence of exploitation of private monopoly. There's no monopoly. Okay, state monopoly exists only to promote overall economic well-being of the people. Okay, now what are the disadvantages? You have misallocation of resources. Resources allocation is based on trial and error and selfish interest of the ruling class, leading to underproduction of goods required by the poor majority. All right, so it's just like saying, what are the policies that the government are making? The government are making policies that actually favors them. We just need to be plain here. Okay, the government are making policies that actually favors them, not favors the poor. All right, that favors them, or that they still, even if it might favors the poor or favors the masses, you still have personal interest in it. Okay, maybe for them to know that, for people to say, oh, he's the best governor, he's the best president, so he's the one that makes so thing. There's this personal thing. Okay, so now think of somebody that had a beef with somebody, and this person is the person that you have to allocate the resources to give to make to produce what the people want. Definitely you will not allocate the resources to the person because you're having beef with the person, and so doing, those personal interests makes resources to not be allocated to the right place. All right, so that's number one. Number two, loss of consumer sovereignty. What is consumer sovereignty? Free will to choose what you want to buy, what you want to spend your money on. So there's consumer sovereignty, you are restricted. Okay, because the government is the one dictating what is to be produced. Okay, goods and services to be produced, and what they produce is what you buy. Are you getting my point? So there's there is loss of consumer sovereignty. So think of it. Let's say the government, Lagos State government said, okay, all houses in the country is owned by the. It's just an example, okay? I'm not saying it can happen, okay? It's just a scenario. Let's say all the buildings in like in Lagos is being controlled by the Lagos State Housing Agency, right? They will build houses that everybody, they will look at the income state and all of that. It's okay. Okay, if these people want this, let's be for them. Want it, let's be for them. And let's make sure that once one side is not getting more of it and one side is being left completely idle and stuff like that, So and by so doing, people that want more cannot get more. Okay, people that want more cannot get more because the government has capped what they can actually get. Okay, now no freedom of enterprise, no freedom of every person is employed by the government, and there's tendency for underemployment, misallocation of human resources. There's waste of resources, yes, and there's poor quality products. Okay, another disadvantage is that management, poor management. Okay, poor management, because it's government owned. It means that every 4 years the next person could be, if it's not somebody that the present or the elected governor president wants, then another person will come in. So that means the work that the former person MD is doing might not be completed, or might not, just should just be there because the new person is coming in with another new ideology. Now that's one. Two, most of those people, they don't have experience, they don't have management experience in those places. It just put you there, so you don't even know what exactly you are actually doing in that position. I don't know if you understand my point. So there's poor management in socialist economic system. Now we have the last one, which is mixed economy system. It's a mixed economy system. It means mixed economy system means both capitalists and socialists controls the what, they control the controls the resources, the production, the distribution, and the consumption. Okay, it controls the production, the distribution, and the consumption. Now the state intervention, however, is considered necessary to remedy the defects of the market economy earlier identified. So this mixed economy is just letting us know that there's the two of them are being involved. Okay, so government knows that, okay, if we are to, our agency, instead of building buildings for rich people, in which there is company doing that, and they are not doing building for people that can only afford a single room, then let our housing agencies build buildings in strategic locations where this kind of people can, get a place, okay, based on their income level and where they work and stuff like that. That's now the mixed economy thing. Okay, so that's what mixed economy is all about. It's the combination of capitalists and socialists to in real world, all economies are mixed, but the extent to which one mixed economy differs from another depends largely on how the government interprets its role in the economy. So there's no 50-50. Okay, there's no 50-50. So there's no 50-50, and there's no 100-0 or 0-100. And what do I mean by 50-50? 50 capitalist, 50 socialist, or 100 capitalist, 0 socialist, or 100 or 0 capitalist, 100 socialist. It's not possible. We have make sure it could be 60-40. It could be, we have a ratio that is not 50-50. So what are the advantages? Best allocation of resources, general balance, welfare state. Disadvantages: non-cooperation between the private and public sector is what we are having with, that's the problem we're having with NNPC and Dangote refinery. Okay, this is a very good example of what, of non cooperation between the private and public sector. Okay, that's one of the issue. Inefficient public sector. Okay, then we have economic fluctuations. Now, what are the functions of economic system? We have talked about the types of economic system. We have talked about their advantage and disadvantage. So what are the functions of economic systems? So every economic system performs this function. Allocation of resources, that's the first one. Every economic system. Allocation of resources, organization of production, distribution of goods and services, economic growth and development, and lastly, economic stability. And that's all for this video. See you in the next video.